seen the Bob Dylan movie?
Yes.
All right. I don't spoil it for me.
I told you I was going to go see it. I've been very excited about it.
I know you're a cinephile. I like
saw
that
it last
about
weekend.
You. Okay, so and I'll get to my last point. But what were your thoughts on the movie?
It is excellent. It especially if you just want if you're a true biopic person, you just want to see this person embodied. If you're going in to nitpick the history of some of this stuff,
I'm not into that.
That's not what the movie tries to be. It's not trying to be historical. It is trying to capture who Bob Dylan was, his personality, his relationships, his art, his talent. And I thought they crushed it. And it's not just Chalamet. The actress that plays Joan Baez is incredible.
Okay.
The actor that plays Johnny Cash, he's in the movie for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Just a phenomenal film. I totally lost myself in it.
So it's great stuff. So I know really, because I love biopics. Is Chalamet, was it difficult for you at all to accept Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan? Is he too big a star?
0%.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what a couple of the things I know from watching behind the scenes interviews. He really plays and sings all the stuff himself.
Okay.
And in almost every scene he's playing and singing, they captured it live. So he's not even syncing to himself, singing in a studio, right? He's actually performing the songs in front of you on camera, and you can tell. And he nails it. I actually went back after the fact and listened back to back to some of Dylan's songs and then Chalamet singing them back to back. It's not identical, but it is he got the mannerisms and the quirks, nailed it. I mean, I think the guy's just crazy talented. It's hard, I think, for some people. He's Gen Z and he's goofy and he's kind of
but I also think he's, as a sports guy, he officially crossed over for me on game day.
On game day, yeah.
Yeah, whether
he was incredible.
He was, and I think he was he approached it he took it very seriously, which was cool,
Well, have you seen the photos of him when he was 9 and 10 trying to find New York Knicks at the subway and stuff? Dude is a sports nut.
So that's pretty cool because it kind of makes him a little more down to earth than I think we perceive most stars to be. Are we far enough away from Bob Dylan? How much did you know about Bob Dylan?
Not much.
Okay. So, and I don't know much either. I mean, I know the music. I know your basics for somebody my age. But I'm not nitpicking. Mad Dog Russo is obsessed with Bob Dylan, and he's obsessed with this movie. He's already seen it twice. He's actually going to go see the premiere in Europe because I guess they invited him. But I think he's a good example of somebody who was loved Bob Dylan, is kind of even keeled enough where he's not going to try to pick apart the movie historically. But it's being received very well.
Here's the thing they did right too, and I don't think this is a spoiler. They didn't try to paint him as particularly heroic or admirable, and they also didn't try to paint him as some
villain,
total asshole.
Yeah.
They found that through line right in the middle that is what he was. He's weird.
Yeah.
He could come across like a jerk. He could come across as egotistical. He could come across as very sensitive and poetic. And they kind of got all of those. I mean, I don't know how they kind of got all those threads to make this, but it's really good, man. It's really good.
I'm looking forward to
highly recommend it.
And in 2025, when was most of the movie based? Late 60s?
No. It's his early career. So it's 61 to 65.
That's it.
It covers 4 years. So it's based on the book Dylan Goes Electric.
Okay.
So it tells the story of him kind of coming up through the folk scene, and then transforming into what he became, which was a much, I think, wider genre artist than just acoustic guitar folk music. Right?
Was that purposeful for him, or did he just kind of evolve into it?
I think the movie lets you wonder that.
Okay.
But it only because Dylan's so mysterious and never quite lets you know what he's really doing.
I should have seen it last night. Now I can't go.
But this is how little I knew about Bob Dylan. So I'm a huge Johnny Cash nut. That's the guy from that era that I've read multiple biographies. I watched the old video. I just think he's my favorite celebrity ever. And he's got that song with June Carter Cash called "It Ain't Me, Babe." You know that song?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I only knew that as a Johnny Cash song. Bob Dylan wrote that song, and so Bob Dylan plays it in the film. And I was like, oh, cool. He's playing Johnny's song because they were buddies. Yeah. No, Johnny Cash took that song from Bob because he loved, like, Bob Dylan has written so many songs, right? Like, casual rock and roll fans may not know, if they've only heard Jimi Hendrix play All Along the Watchtower, that's a Bob Dylan song. Like, there's so many.
There's so much of that.
He's iconic, man.
Yeah. All right, I'm in. I was going to see it last night, but I had my dog with me in the car, and I was like, can she do 2 hours in the car by herself? She can. She's done it a million times before. But I came back from I literally got in the car from HEB, and I looked at her, and she was kind of had energy. And I was like, I can't leave her in the car for a couple hours while I go see the Dylan movie. We're going home. Yeah. So it took Sadie home and watch some hoops, which you just heard about. All right. Something I also have had the opportunity to watch recently. You see what happens when I have a little free time? I watched the Jerry Springer documentary on Netflix. Okay. The best part about it is it was only 2 episodes. And only like an hour and a half of my time. Informative, yeah. Entertaining, yeah. Totally sloppy. I mean, it's the exact opposite example of, like, if you're going to do a documentary about Jerry Springer and a show that was, what it did was amazing, taking down Oprah for the short time it did. And there's so many dark things about that show. There was a murder committed, like, around one of the appearances. They could have done a lot better. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's amazing what the kind of, I mean, and Netflix still does. It's not as bad. Nothing is as bad as the new way that they do 2020. Nothing is as bad as that now. If you watch that, it's awful television. Like, the 2020 I was raised on was Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters and, like, even John Stossel, like a good TV news magazine. And then it kind of evolved into, like, Dateline or 48 Hours. But now it has taken on this new identity of it's like people that don't even know about the story, not looking at, they're looking at the camera, like, addressing it like everybody's really selling it. It's just, if you know. But yeah, Jerry Springer doc could have been a lot better. This show, I don't know. I think we did a hell of a job. We'll be back tomorrow.
Hey, can I end this on a positive note real quick before we sign off? So you were talking about Baker Mayfield, and I had seen this headline but hadn't really looked into it. Did you see what he did a couple months ago for this high school in Florida?
No, tell me.
Let's end on a positive note here. I've got a couple photos. Yeah. So Baker Mayfield,
thank you.
There's this high school called Space Coast High School. And I think, based on my light reading this morning, their football program was, like, really struggling. And he bought them $18,000 worth of equipment, these sweet matte black helmets, new pads, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they won state. He bought them $18,000 worth of equipment at the beginning of the season. And they won state in Florida 1A football.
Look good, I just feel good, play good.
And here's what I love about what you said about social media. Like, he didn't do it for clicks.
Yeah.
Like, he and his wife, it was talking about he and his wife just, like, were like, dude, we could buy them their stuff. And they're 130 miles from where the Bucks play. And, dude, I was just like, okay, and as a Baylor guy.
Look at you, Scotty.
Hey, man. And I have a complicated relationship with Baker Mayfield because as a Baylor guy, I hated his guts, right?
Yeah.
Like, I hated it. But, like, he's hard not to like.
A complicated relationship, like you dated him.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when people
but he's
say
hard
that
not
about
to
sport.
like, man. Like, seems like a genuinely just normal, down-to-earth, good dude. It's been fun to watch him play well this year.
Yeah. That's great job by you. Nice little positive note to end on. All right. Nothing more to be said, except for we're presented by Slovaceks and we love Ray. Stop by Slovaceks. We'll see you tomorrow.